Hello, happy Tuesday, American Crochet Association. Salena Baca here, founder, host, lead educator with the ACA. And on Tuesdays, I like to come on over here and share a crochet tip with you guys. If you are watching live, come on over, say hey, say hello, tell me where you're viewing from. If you are a member of the American Crochet Association, let me know in the comments and I'll give you an extra special shout out while I'm here. If you're watching on the replay, it's still the same great information. Everything that we do here at the American Crochet Association is meant to be everlasting. So this isn't just something trending today. This is something that will hopefully better your crochet life today, better your crochet projects today, and things that you can use for any crochet project that you have or that you use in the future. So the tip today that we will be going over the tip is 3 reasons to swatch when you crochet. Now, I can already feel the collective groaning. I know crocheters are like, oh, I don't want to swatch. I don't make things that require me to swatch. I stay away from swatching. It's just not what I do. And we do that for quite a few reasons. I'm a crocheter, so I'm speaking for the crochet world. And I'm also saying this because this was definitely my attitude about swatching until I realized that there's more to it, okay? So why do we kind of collectively groan whenever it comes to swatching? We do that because we feel like swatching is a waste of our time. Have you ever felt that way? Raise your hand in the comments, or let me know in the comments if you've ever felt like swatching is a waste of time. Or you might feel like swatching is not going to be crucial for the project that you're making. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes I feel like there's a lot to be gained from a swatch, and that's where the tips are going to come in just a minute. Or maybe you're just thinking, you know what, I really don't know what a swatch is supposed to do. I don't know how it's going to help me. I don't know why if I don't swatch, I'll be hindered, right? So that's kind of collectively what we think. Well, before we get started on those tips, I do want to share just a bit of information about what a swatch is. Do you guys know what a swatch is? If you want to guess, go ahead and just post it in the comments and I'll see what you guys say after I give some shout outs, because I see quite a few of you are here saying hello, so I don't want to miss out on that. It looks like Chris Lopez is here watching. Chris Lopez, it is always a pleasure to see you, not only here at the American Crochet Association, but everywhere in the crochet world. As a matter of fact, I think you are everywhere in the crochet world, and that's a good thing because you are just a beacon of bright, amazing energy, and we're proud to have you here. So thanks for checking in, Chris Lopez. Same for you, DePolly. DePolly is one of our American Crochet Association All-Stars. She is a crochet professional. She's completely amazing, and she's one that really makes the crochet community, our crochet community, bright and lively. So thank you for being here, DePolly. So good to see you. See, I told you, if you guys are ACA members, I'm going to give you an extra special shout out. So thank you guys. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Tracy Fortner is here. Of course, Tracy Fortner has been part of the American Crochet Association for I don't even know how long, since forever. Thank you so much for coming on over here to say hello, Tracy. Always so good to see you. DePolly is listening while she's cooking. What time am I going to be there for dinner? I can't wait. I'm excited. Hello, Nova. So good to see you. And Debbie is here. Debbie says, and she's answering my question about the swatch. Thank you so much. She says, is it just a square or sample of how you crochet? Yes. Yes, and that's kind of that's the thing that I wanted to define first, because so many times we hear swatch and we cringe and we're like, oh, I just don't want to do it. It feels hard. It feels complicated. It feels like a big thing. But a swatch is just a small sample or just a small test of a stitch or a fabric or a pattern. That's it. So when we define it in those terms, it's like, well, that's not so scary, right? It's not. Now that we know what a swatch is, what are some things that are going to help us or what are 3 reasons to swatch when we crochet, right? Now that we know what it is. Well, first and foremost, if you guys have any questions about swatching, let me know in the comments. As long as I'm here live, I'll answer all of them, okay? I do have a link that I want you guys to go to because everything that I'm talking about here is going to be outlined in that link. It's a quick little blog post, and it's something that you guys can go back to, read time and time again. You can save it for later. You can share it with your friends. Hopefully it's some great information. Now, here are my 3 tips, okay? Tip number 1, you guys probably already know this. If I said to you, what does swatching do? You guys would probably say something like, I can hear you. I can hear you guys thinking. You guys would probably say something like, well, it's for sizing things, right? Like if I'm making a sweater, or if I'm making a shirt, or if I'm making an outfit, like for a baby, that's when swatching matters, right? You're right. Whenever we create a swatch and we're creating a swatch for gauge, that's absolutely right. We're trying to see whatever the gauge is in the pattern, however many stitches there are per a certain number, and what the rows measure, right? So we're trying to get stitch math and row math. So we're seeing that within a pattern, and a gauge swatch for us is to see, well, if I do what they're telling me to do, how does my stitch math and row math measure up to that? Is it smaller than what's indicated? Well, then my project's going to be smaller than what's indicated. Is my swatch larger than what's indicated? Well, same thing. My project is going to be larger than what's indicated. So yes, you're absolutely right. That's the number 1 reason that we do create swatches. It's for those sized things, and it's where we want to make sure that our fabric that we're creating, the stitches that we're making, the rows that we're making, they're going to measure up as the pattern indicates. Now, I do have some helpful tips for you guys, so definitely click on the link in the description to get so much more information. Oh, I see so many of you guys are here saying hey and hello. Chris Lopez is blushing. Lady, you deserve everything I said and more. You are absolutely wonderful. Debbie is here, and she's saying, I'm not sure. Well, hopefully this information that I'm giving at least helps you feel more confident about what a swatch is, what it should do, how it can help you, when to use it. At least kind of, dip your toes in the water of swatching, right? So hopefully that's what we're doing today. Rachel Ann, hello. So good to see you, Rachel Ann. It's always such a pleasure to see you in the crochet communities. You're just so fun and vibrant, and you really make the crochet space a fun place. Thank you. Lisa's here. Hello, Lisa. We've got a crochet celebrity in the house. Marley Bird is here for the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Marley Bird says, and this is an excellent point about swatching, and she is the queen of crochet, so she knows her stuff. She says an architect doesn't build something without knowing measurements, and that's absolutely true. And while you may be thinking, well, I don't make a lot of sweaters, I don't make a lot of things that are going to be worn, there's so many things where size could be essential. Let's say you're making a water bottle cozy. Do you want it to fit a water bottle? Is it going to accidentally be too small for that and just be for chapstick? Is it going to accidentally be so large that you can fit, what can you fit in it? Like, I don't know, like your children. So, what I mean by that is, think about things differently. Maybe you're making an Afghan and you're like, it's going to be the size that it's going to be. Well, if you want it to fit, a crib, you don't want to accidentally make it super duper small. You don't want to accidentally make it super duper big. And the larger the project is, the more room for error there is. Again, if you want to make a blanket and it's 36 by 36 as per the pattern, if you accidentally make it 40 by 40, sure, that's going to be fine. Do you accidentally want to make it 60 by 60? Do you accidentally want to make it 24 by 24? Probably not. So making that swatch, just kind of, again, dipping your toes in that area is really going to help you understand, am I making the same size fabric that the pattern calls for? So, Marley, excellent analogy. I love analogies. Thank you so much for chiming in. Brenda Allison is here. Thank you so much for being here, Brenda. Chris Lopez, she says, I find it's good to practice a new stitch or technique in a swatch rather than in your project. I'm so glad that you said that, Chris Lopez. And Chris Lopez, you might have already taken our swatching mastery course at the American Crochet Association. It's part of the learning path, and I know that you were part of it. And maybe that's where that answer came from, because that's absolutely what my second tip is today. So whenever we're swatching, yes, tip number one is you want to swatch for gauge. You want to swatch for size. What size fabric are you making? But tip number two is that you swatch to practice. And you guys are like, practice? What do I need to practice? I've been crocheting my entire life, and I constantly swatch to practice different things. Maybe I want to practice a new stitch that I've never worked before, or a new combination of stitches. Maybe I want to practice a new joining technique. Maybe I want to practice a new color change technique. Maybe I want to practice different stitch techniques that maybe I haven't worked before in a particular yarn. Maybe I want to see if this new yarn that I got, what will post stitches look like this? Will this be a great yarn for a basket weave stitch? There are so many different things to practice. And my tip to you is, if there's anything new that you're trying, a new yarn, a new stitch pattern, a new specialty stitch, a new technique, try that on something small first, because you don't want to wing it on your finished project. Let's say you are making an Afghan, you're making 100 of these. Do you want your first 5 to look like, yep, those were my first 5. Oops, then I knew better and everything else is beautiful. Let's say you've never worked a technique like join as you go before, right? Do you really want to practice that on your finished project? Maybe you don't. Maybe you learn some things like, oh, maybe I should have gone up a hook size. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it too tight. Maybe I should have chained 2 instead of 1. There are so many different things that you're going to find out if you test out those things on just a few small little motifs, on just a few small little things first, before you implement those brand new things in your project. So Chris Lopez, excellent thing. It was a great segue into tip number 2. Whenever we're swatching, we swatch to practice. And you guys may go, oh, it's such a waste of time. I don't want to have a bunch of practice things. But I'm telling you, once you get into the habit of just practicing, there's a few things that you can do. Let's say you do get a brand new yarn. You're like, I don't want to waste my new yarn. But maybe you start working with that yarn. You go, oh, you know what? I'm totally going to take this out when I'm done. So I'm not creating a swatch that I have that, I'm going to put off to the side. Maybe you start working with this yarn knowing you're going to frog it, but you just kind of want to test it out. Like, do I want to use this hook? Do I really want to use this yarn for that project? I don't really like the way it feels. Oh, now that I've used it a little bit, this yarn would be perfect for something else. So maybe you don't make these things that you just save for later. Maybe you start working with a yarn and you start testing some things knowing you're going to frog it. Alternatively, I have an entire bin full of things that are just little swatches. Stitch swatches, technique swatches, join swatches, color change swatches, tons of different things like that. Another thing, and I know Marley has talked about this a lot. I'm going to pick on you a little bit, Marley, because it's so good to see you here. Marley's talked a lot about techniques as well. So, and particularly, this is one of my favorite talks that you've ever given, because I'm like, yes, it's the difference between sewing in your ends, weaving in your ends, what you do with your ends. So creating little swatches, particularly with different kinds of yarn that you use a lot, and then maybe sewing in the ends, weaving in the ends, things like that, and seeing if they withstand the test of time. If I want to make an Afghan with 100 of these, what am I going to do with those ends? Because I know that my kids are going to be dragging it around. I know it's going to have to go in the washer and maybe the dryer a couple times. How is it going to withstand? So you make the little swatch, right? Maybe they're all joined. So you make 4 of these. You join them together. You test out different colors and things like that, right? And then, all right, I'm going to sew in my ends. Let's see if it withstands the washer and the dryer. So that's what I mean. Once you go through all the care instructions on a small scale, you go, I shouldn't have used that yarn. I shouldn't use that join technique. I should have done something differently. You've tested it on a small scale of 4 little motifs instead of 100. So many different reasons to swatch. Marley Bird, what else are you saying? What other nuggets of information are you giving us? She says swatches can tell you how much yarn you need on a project. Absolutely. That's another thing that we talk a lot about, especially in our Swatch Mastery course at the American Crochet Association, is how to create a swatch so you can see yardage. You know, that way you can tell I'm using this yarn. I want to make this thing. How much yarn do I need? They're really easy solutions to coming up to developing things like that. So many different interesting reasons to swatch. Jamma is here. Hello, Jamma. So good to see you. Jamma, I got some mail for you, lady, with a sticker. Thank you so much for supporting the American Crochet Association. I hope you enjoy your sticker. Let us know when it arrives. Brenda Allison is here. She says, I've been crocheting since 1970 and I've never done a swatch. Oh my goodness, lady. Well, I will ask you, what kind of things do you like to crochet? Have you ever made something and felt like, I should have done that differently? And so many times as crocheters, we naturally do that. We're like, I'm not making a swatch. I'm just going to make the thing and I'm going to wing it. But so many times we learn things from that. You know, and there's nothing wrong. You know, whenever we create things and we go, oh man, I should have used a different yarn. We learn from it. We may not frog that thing. It may not be for the intended purpose, but we still learn something from that. So even though you don't create specific swatches, you're still learning things by the projects that you make. So I will say to you, if you've never swatched, maybe you'll consider it a little bit. And that way, maybe you'll apply that information to future projects. Debbie follows Marley. Everybody follows Marley. Everybody knows Marley in the yarn and crochet world. She is just amazing. Marley Bird, I love you too. It's always such a pleasure to have you here. Rachel Ann, she's got all the heart eyes. Marley Bird's replying to Chris and just saying yes. Marley's on the hot seat. Soapbox, yeah. No, Marley knows. She has got all the crochet wisdom, so I know she knows we're speaking the gospel now, right? Marley says, LOL, John just walked in and said, hey, that's Salena. Tell her I said hi. Hi, John and Bird family. We can't wait to spend time with you guys again. Hopefully it's this year. The Baca family loves the Bird family, so we're looking forward to that. Damon misses John. He misses his buddy. So we gotta make that happen. All right, guys, so I've got one more tip for you guys today. If you're just now joining us live, I'm going over 3 reasons to swatch when you crochet. Please click on the link in the video description and you guys will get all of this information in a neatly packaged little place. Of course, I'm doing this live video next to my beautiful window and I'm like, you know, the sun is hitting me. I'm so sorry, guys. The live, it's amazing. So 3 reasons to swatch when you crochet. If you're just joining us, we've already gone through 2. I've got one more reason to swatch. I've gone through all the comments and I don't see any guesses for the last one. Do you guys have any guesses about what the 3rd reason to swatch is? We've talked about gauge. We've talked about practicing. The 3rd one is one that people never think about. Maybe I'll blow some minds today. Maybe I will. And I certainly learned this the hard way. I feel like everyone learns this the hard way. But if you have this in mind, if it's something that you consider, if it's a reason to swatch, it will save you. Let me tell you guys. No guesses? No? You guys are thinking, Marley Bird, of course Marley knows. Of course Marley knows. I learned this the hard way so many times. And I see this in all of my crochet groups that I'm in. People will crochet something and go, ooh, I loved this yarn until I made this thing. I love this color until I made this thing. We don't think enough about color, Marley Bird. Of course you're right. Of course you're right. We don't think about color, people. Now, when I say that, whenever we buy yarn and we see those beautiful variegated, like the short repeats or the, you know, the long color repeats, and it's those big blocks of striped color, we buy those and we go, I love this. Oh my gosh, I love all this color. It's so beautiful. And we see it in the hank, we see it in the cake, we see it in the skein, and we don't think about how it's going to translate to whatever project that we're making. And we don't think about how that color repeat is going to, it could enhance our project or it could hinder our project. Now, I learned the hard way so many times that some yarn colors pool. Marley Bird knows this. She's the queen of color pooling. Okay, if you guys want to learn about color pooling, go to Marley Bird. Color pooling. Some colors pool together, and it depends on the stitch. It depends on what you're doing, and that could be an excellent thing. You could pool colors together in a really beautiful, vibrant way. Or colors may pool together in a way that you're like, you already created this intricate stitch pattern, maybe this open work or this lace or this textured basket weave, And that color pooling is just eating away at all of that fabric. So color can absolutely hide all of your hard work. And sometimes if you have an intricate stitch pattern or an open work pattern or something like that, you've got too much color going on, all you'll be able to see is all of that color. So you're working really hard on this fabric and you can't see any of that hard work. You might as well just have a solid fabric of half double crochets all the way across. So my third tip, my third reason that everyone should swatch when they crochet is you've got to think about color, all right? You've got to think about it. Okay, Penny's here. She says, great tips. Marley has got an excellent point, and it definitely fits into our tip number 2, swatch to practice. Marley says, with her golden nuggets of wisdom, washing colors together. Yes, I mentioned with tip number 2, we're going to swatch to practice, and practice, you know, within the realm of practice, because there's a lot of things to practice, is care instructions. How am I going to care for this? So if you're mixing yarn colors together, let's say, hey, I'm going to make an afghan, and it's going to have 100 of these squares, and I'm going to have blue and yellow and white and black, and I have all these different colors. Are those colors going to wash well together? Are they going to bleed? What is that going to look like? So definitely swatch and then go through some care instructions to see what is that going to look like? What's it going to create for me? Penny, I'm so glad you think these are great tips. Chris Lopez says, yes, I've tried some variated colors and they look great in one technique, not so great in another. Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do, side note, one of my favorite things to do whenever I'm on Ravelry and I'm looking at different patterns, if I see a pattern that I like, I automatically go to the projects and I see all of those projects that other people have made following that pattern, because I want to see, well, I love the solid there, but what did other people do? Oh, well, it looks great in color block. It looks great in a variegated yarn with a really short color repeat. It looks great in a self-striping yarn. It does not look good in a short color. So you're looking at all of the different colors people are using and how it was applied to a pattern. So if you guys are just curious about how color plays into different fabrics, that can be something that you do as well. But again, swatching just on your own time with your own yarn, and just, you know, swatching to enhance your crochet knowledge, enhance your crochet skills. It will not only help you with the current project that you're working on, it's going to help you for any project that you're working on. Maybe you're like, oh, I love that, but it has a joining. I don't know how to do join as you go, so I'm not going to touch that. If you just try it, if you just practice a little bit, maybe you decide, nope, it's not for me. I was right. Or maybe you go, you know what? That wasn't so bad. Now that I've done it on a few different motifs, I'm totally going to tackle that project that I liked. All right, everybody, that's all I have for you guys today on Tip Tuesday with the American Crochet Association. If you guys found these tips helpful, insightful, knowledgeable, let me know in the comments, please. I would really appreciate hearing some feedback from you guys. If you thought these tips were amazing, I've got a blog post with all the information that I've covered here live, so you can go back and read that at your own pace. Share it for later. Save it for later, share it with a friend. And if you guys super duper loved these tips, if you guys could hit that share button and share this video in just one place where you love crochet and you feel like they'll get some enjoyment and some knowledge out of this, we would really appreciate it. Marley Bird, you are the best. Thank you so much for being our guest contributor here. You are always welcome to come on over and shine your brightness on the American Crochet Association. You are a joy. Kate is here. Kate says, thanks for the tips. I didn't realize how important swatches are. Swatches are the nectar of crochet life, I will say. Chris Lopez says, that's a great idea. I passed up a pattern recently because it was so-so. I saw it on a live a few days later in a different color, and I was like, wow, absolutely. Color can make or break a project. It absolutely can. Brenda Allison, she says, helpful tips. Maybe I'll try. Please do. And again, you know, they're really just ways to enhance your crochet knowledge and crochet skill. All right, that's all it is. So the more you do, the more you know, and the better questions you'll ask for future projects, and the better your work will be. All right, that's all this is about. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being part of the American Crochet Association community. Thank you for being here on Tip Tuesday. I can't wait to see who you share this video with. All right, peace, love, crochet. See you next time.